Your ideas help move this country. You are the American Innovator.
Well, hello everyone. Paul Akers, and welcome back to the American Innovator. You know, we've been doing a lot of exciting things, and here you're watching jet boating up the Snake River. But this week, I'm going to do a quick interview with Morgan Lohman, the owner of Lohman Helicopters. And Morgan and I, on our way to jet boating, started telling me about his life story. And I pulled out my iPhone, as you can see here, and started recording it because I thought it was a fascinating story. And Morgan's accomplishments are significant, and I thought you would enjoy listening to how he got to where he is. So this week's American Innovator is going to be listening to Morgan tell his life story of how he built the company that he has today. And then next week, we hope to take you on the riverboat trip that Morgan and I did, and that was jet boating up the world-class Snake River. And I think you're going to love that show as well. We'll follow up next week with that. But for now, here's Morgan and his life story.
About 22 years old, and I took my first demo flight. And I'm like, all right, this is what we got to do. So over that 10-year period of electrical work and doing all that type of stuff, I'm always researching helicopters and how to buy one and which will be good and which will be, learning. And so at 22, I find the helicopter. I'm like, this is the one I need to get. I buy
so 21, you become an electrician. 22, you're already doing helicopters.
Working through that. Yep. So where was I? 23.
So now, did you take a ride in a helicopter? What inspired you to get into it? Because when I flew for the first time, it just blew me away. I said, I got to do this.
The very first time I was in Northern California, Scotia, California, Pacific Lumber Company, and Columbia Helicopters had a Chinook down there for heli logging. And I got to hang out with the flight crew and got to know them, and we did some pre-flights. And I got to get in the Chinook while they started up and hovered around. And I'm like, okay, absolutely doing this. So that was an electrical job. I was down there for that. Come to think of it, but I worked for a sawmill. I bought this. Yeah, I bought an old 1962 Alouette 2 turbine helicopter, 3 blades, 5 passenger.
So right out the gate, you're flying turbine, not even piston.
Right. The thing of it was, I bought the helicopter before I was even a pilot, or I had like 2 flight hours. So 2 flight hours.
You are crazy.
It's not like I spent my entire life savings. At that point in time, 2 hours in it, you don't know if you're going to be able to become a pilot or not, because some guys just can't get it.
They can't do it.
Can't do the auto rotations or the emergency procedures. So I buy the helicopter. I'm like, well, I really hope it works out now because we're committed.
Well, when I flew with you yesterday, Morgan, it puts a whole new perspective on what you were doing, knowing your background and how aggressive you were and how difficult the things you overcame to make it happen. It even gives me more confidence. I felt totally confident when I was flying with you. Like, you really know what you're doing, man. And now tell me the story. I'm like, I get it.
I got to give a lot of props to my mom because over those years, I was getting quite a bit of money saved up, and it was really hard not to buy a snowmobile like my friends did or go buy a fancy truck.
Right.
So there were some times I'd have my mom would tell me about daily. Save it. Want your dream.
I like that. Save it.
So I did, and then we spent it in one day on a helicopter, and then I still had to borrow some money.
But at least it had the potential to make you money,
yeah.
And that's the beautiful thing. When you spend money, it needs to make money.
Right, return on investment.
You got it, boy. Most people miss that. You buy a nice car, 9 times out of 10, it's not going to make you any money. It's going to lose you money.
But
you bought a tool that you could both learn and enjoy and make money with.
Exactly. No, it's a great.
So what was your first helicopter you gave? What did you do?
I hovered cherries for Pat Sullivan in Tri-Cities.
Oh, so that was the Pat. That's right.
Yeah, that was my first guy. The first guy ever hired me.
The first video.
We buy the helicopter. I got about 6-7 weeks till cherry drying season.
Right.
And you have to become a commercial pilot in order to work for income, work for hire. I'm like, wow. And I'd be getting a couple little flight lessons down in my helicopter from an old warrant officer, military guy.
Right.
And he's like, there's no way you can become a pilot in 6 weeks. Even the military can't make it. Because when we were hotshot kids going into the service, he goes, they needed pilots. He goes, we didn't even do a 6-week program. He goes, we were 8 weeks. And most guys couldn't cut that. So I'm like, well, I only got 6 weeks. And if I don't get this cherry contract, I'm going to go out. I'm broke. We're done. And he goes, besides, even if he goes, Morgan, he tells me, he goes, even if you could get it done in 6 weeks, because you'd have to quit your job, move to a flight school. He told me on like a Thursday or a Friday. So I get to work Monday morning, and I give my notice. I wasn't much of a notice, I quit on the spot. And I went to a flight school. And
And this is an amazing story because they said no way. You found all the ways to make it happen, even though they said you couldn't make it happen.
Right. Everybody always said no, you can't. No, you can't. I don't like no for an answer. I don't like being told no. I don't like telling other people no. If there's a will, there's a way.
That's the same language I speak as well. And look at this country that we're driving in right now. Look how beautiful this is.
That's amazing.
Wow.
This is where I went to high school. Actually, this year's the ball field where I played Babe Ruth and
Is that right?
Southern Washington. Yeah, it's great.
Talk about the flight school. Then what happened?
Flight school, and you walk in and you meet the owner and the instructors, and they give you a ball cap or whatever, a cup of coffee, and say, welcome, shake your hand. So that's what we do. And they got the schedule book out there on the counter. And most flight schools, it's like a year long, and then they get you to become a commercial pilot. It's about a year.
But
so
not for Morgan though. None of this year business.
I don't have time for that.
Okay.
Don't have time for that. So.
And you already own the helicopter?
Already own the helicopter.
Yeah. And he's going to flight school. I like this.
Yeah.
This is called lean flying.
No waste.
Yeah, no waste.
Not wasting time.
That's right.
So I meet the owner of the school, and he's like, and I look at the schedule, and they have, Johnny, the kids got their an hour flight, and then they take 4 hours off, and then they want to put you through the ground schooling, and when it's a great way to do it, unless you're like me and you just bought a helicopter and you got 6 weeks before you go bankrupt. So
nothing like a little pressure.
Well, there's a little bit of pressure. So I see the schedule book, and it's wide open. So I'm just Morgan.
And you just start writing your name in every slot.
Mm-hmm. The owner walks in and he's like, he's European, and he goes, "You can't do this." And he throws his hands in the air. I'm like, well, how come? Well, that's not normal. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Well, you just don't fly that much. Why not? He really didn't have an answer. He just said that it wasn't normal. I'm like, well,
you're a natural lean guy. Lean guys always ask why. They always want to get to the root of the issue. You just nailed it,
I just want to know what your thought process is. Why I can't fly 5 hours a day. So, anyways, so he finally agrees, because that was my biggest thing. My other point was, I'm like, well, I'm paying the same as the other guys. You're still getting paid for 5 hours of helicopter time a day. Why do you care who it comes from? I guess if your other students wanted to fly, I suppose they should have put their name down. So he finally comes around.
There are more life lessons here listening to this story. I mean, for the listeners, this is off the charts good stuff about how to conduct yourself in life to get to a level far above what most people reach because they just don't accept no for an answer. Awesome stuff. I'm inspired.
Thanks.
Okay, so keep going. What happened next?
Got a good mom. Definitely. Good parents.
Yeah,
good parents.
Good
really
parents. Good mom. My mom was great too, and so was my dad. Awesome.
Yeah, so we get the 5 hour thing going, 6 and 7. He lets me do that. And the other thing I'd overcome is their ground schooling was a little too slow paced. But I had already bought all the books to do it, and they
I'm not going to tell you how long it took me to get my license because I'm embarrassed. But keep going.
They want like $30 an hour to teach you, and I'm like, I already bought the books. I don't need any instruction. I'll self-study. They're like, well, that's not normal. He's like, well, we're not going to endorse you to take the test unless we know you know the material. I'm like, well, then quiz me. He's like, oh, I guess you're ready. Like, I told you I was ready. So I self-studied, and they endorsed me.
Were you naturally good in school? Was this normal for you?
It kind of bored me. I started going to college when I was 16. I did the running start thing that Washington State puts on, but I don't know. It was just
interesting.
I wasn't like excited about school. I'm excited about the passion, so I suppose I tried a little harder. But
academics weren't difficult for you.
No, not at all. No.
Good for you.
No, it was not at all.
We don't have that in common. Academics were very difficult for me. I really struggled in school. It was tough.
I guess fortunate there. So. Yeah.
So then what happens next?
10 hours. You're allowed to, if you can pass a check ride at 10 hours, you can solo a helicopter, and now they knock off that $20 an hour for the instructor fee. So at 10 hours, I'm like, hey, I'm going to try to solo. He said, okay. So I solo.
Were you afraid? I remember when I soloed in a plane, I was I knew I was ready, but I was a little nervous because it was a big deal to have that level of responsibility. No big deal to you?
It was totally nervous. It was spooky. It was a big deal. A big deal. A little Robinson R-22. Yep. I solo at 10 hours. They give me my endorsements, do cross country, do different things, and then I'm racking up time. And at 40 hours, you're allowed to become a private pilot if you can pass the private pilot check ride. At 40. Some guys take some 45 or 50, but I got lucky.
At 40 hours, you
passed it. Yep. So now I'm a private pilot.
Now the next step is commercial.
Right. And
so now you can work for hire.
Yep. Is get to get that commercial. So.
Oh, that's just too much fun.
Yeah, it's.
I'm hooked. It's over, man. I've got to have a helicopter now. After doing this with you, there's nothing like it.
I had an old pilot once tell me, and I've been kind of using that slogan for a little while, is he said it's the most fun you can have with your clothes on.
It's a great one. That's your tagline for you, man.
Yeah,
I used it in the last video, and it's a killer line.
I just land on a sandy beach and go swimming and go fishing. I mean, you can do about anything you want in a helicopter.
And you're only 30 years old, and you're experiencing all this. I mean, think about it. Most people, I'm 52. I've never done it before until I met you, and what a great experience. What a great ride you're having.
It's been good. It's been
so
learned a lot.
What advice would you give someone listening to you right now? You know, I got a lot of listeners who are younger, 22, 30 years old, people listening all over the world. What advice would you give them? What are the core principles and values that have got you to where you are?
Work ethic. It's
work ethic. So hard work.
Hard work. Put that extra hour in.
But wait a second. Everybody says they work hard. What does hard work look like?
Get up at 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And go to bed at 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Or if you have to get up at 3 to do something, don't hit the snooze button.
Yeah. You've got another quote. So we've got the more fun than you can have with your clothes on, right? The most fun you can have with your clothes on, and don't hit the snooze button. Those are Morgan's line. Don't hit the snooze button. And obviously you respect your parents and your mom. She inspired you.
Yeah, been great there. And some other advice would be, because it's hard not to get caught up in what's going on, I've this is definitely a fault of mine, but family, you know, and try not to, you know.
What do you mean by that?
Don't put yourself first all the time. You know, me, I.
Right.
And I do a lot of that still. I work on that, but I really try to, you know, I miss a lot of family functions or birthdays, and I don't even know where things are going on, and it's
So have that in balance.
You got to find a balance, and I've been horrible at that for a long time. But balance of family.
And I'm not good at that either, and it's something I work on as well. I mean, people that are driven tend to have that propensity. So it is good advice. It's great advice. Well, Morgan, awesome job, man. What a great interview. I just love listening to you and being around you, and I appreciate all the opportunities you've afforded me. They've really been off the charts.
It's been
And now we're going to go on a jet boat. Hey,
now we're going to go on a jet boat.
It's a rough life. Okay, let's go.
All right, buddy.
The American Innovator has been brought to you by FastCap. To hear more, just go to theamericaninnovator.com.